participants. Like I was introduced, my name is Nwaka Okuchu Christopher, and this presentation is also co-authored by Dr. N.E. Chiemelu and Mr. Soguro MS. Okay, we are from the Department of Geoinformatics and Surveying, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. It's about how we can use GIS, which is Geographic Information System, to manage our electric assets. We quite understand very well that the main challenge we have with some of our assets in Nigeria is on the issue of maintenance. It's on the issue of knowing what is where. The maintenance culture for our electric assets has been abysmal, to say the least, because the operators of the system don't even know what is where. And we have come to suggest a way that can help using geoinformatics and surveying in the arm of Geographic Information System, where we can now manage these assets. GIS on its own, which is for Geographic Information System, is a system where we can use to manage, store data, manage, retrieve information about features that are tied to the Earth. We call it geospatial information, information that are tied to the Earth, that are Earth-based, And we say that effective development is very, very important in a sustainable manner. That's why most countries these days talk of sustainable development. How can we develop things that it will be sustainable? It's not every day we are spending hard-earned resources trying to get the same equipment, trying to buy the same thing. The other ones we have acquired in the past, how have we been able to manage them? Then we also look at the need to keep a comprehensive, up-to-date information of the physical assets of all power distribution. For this study, we focused on the distribution infrastructure. We know the power infrastructure has the generation, the transmission, and then the distribution. Our focus is on the distribution aspect, where you talk of the electric poles, where you talk of the wire lines, the cable lines, where you talk of the transformers. These are the major components for a distribution infrastructure. Of course, the metering and all that, they are all part of it. So we say that there's a need to keep a comprehensive, up-to-date information of this, and we demonstrate that GIS can be effective in this aspect, keeping effective documentation of what is where, keeping effective documentation of the current condition of every asset. For instance, in most areas in our country, Nigeria, people load shed. That is, people have energy in alternate form. This one will share today. This area will have to share tomorrow because the transformers, which are to step down this energy, are not sufficient. So with GIS, we are looking at how do we document a database of all this, so that when extra fund is pumped into the system, from the click of a button, the government can say, this is the best place to channel the resources. This is the best place to channel the fund. Okay, these guys have been alternating power. Let's give them 2 more transformers so that they don't have to alternate. That is what this study is all about. How we can use GIS to manage our electric assets in a sustainable manner. Okay, the study area we are looking at is part of Ogui. Ogui is an area in Enugu State where we cut out a section of it because of the paucity of the funds available to us. We have to focus on that smaller area. We have also defined GIS, according to Gilani and Wolf, as a system of hardware and software data and organizational structure for collecting, storing, manipulating, and spatially analyzing georeference data and displaying information resulting from these processes. We have other definitions. We looked at, according to Sambo et al. In 2013, It says that some of the challenges faced by electric system in Nigeria is poor utilization of existing assets, and there is a serious lack of required modern technology or communication and monitoring of the generation, transmission, and distribution infrastructure. Like I said before now, infrastructural, these distribution infrastructures were managed in hard copy format. It makes it cumbersome to arrange, make it cumbersome to handle. But with this technology, with this idea we are bringing in, these assets can be documented, the database created in different layers, which we believe will enable a more effective use, a more effective deployment of these resources. Olayole also believe that an electricity system possesses a lot of components which could be cumbersome to manage with analog systems. You can't record all the poles in a given area. You can't record all the transformers in a given area and manage them effectively using analog method. It's easier to have them in the system where you can easily query and get out the information. And that is what we are doing, what we have done in this research. Also, according to Ayeni and Abiodun, they have the opinion that GIS is a very efficient tool for the management and maintenance of a system of utilities whose information and decision are land-based. That is why this one is very important, because the assets of distribution companies, which is the main target in this study, they are based on the earth. You don't move them around. Nobody moves transformer around. They are location-based. They are land-based. They are tied to a particular geographical location. Okay. Now, the procedures and the method we used, because of time, we looked at marking out. We first of all delineate the area where we wanted to carry out our work. Like I said, the area was limited because of the paucity of fund and the number of information we need to cover. The next thing what we do was to download the satellite imagery covering the area. This was just to help us have a good visualization of what we are looking for, have a good version of the street, to be able to digitize out the streets, how the place is located. Then we were able to go into data acquisition. Under that, we have the primary data, which covers both the spatial and attribute data. Now, the spatial data from the survey component is the XYZ locations, the locations of those infrastructures, the transformers, the electric poles, their locations, the buildings which they are servicing, their locations, how the buildings are arranged. These are location data. But we also went ahead to obtain attribute data of those infrastructures. For instance, places in Nigeria, we have poles that are made of wood, and we have poles that are made of concrete. These are attributes for a pole, for instance. Is it a wooden pole? Is it a concrete pole? We also have poles that are not very wonderful in terms of looking at it physically. You know, they need to be replaced. So we also have on the database, we have whether the pole is good or in bad condition. The same thing with transformers. When we look at transformers, we talk of how many phases. We also look at buildings, because these things supply powers into buildings. Okay. Now, on the buildings, we also have the attributes. What kind of building is it? Is it a commercial property? Is it a personal property? What kind of, is it residential? We also look at what kind of metering. How are they being surcharged? Are they on prepaid, where you pay before you use the power? Are they on postpaid, where you pay after the bill will be brought to you? Or are they on estimation, which we said no meter? Some places within the study area have no meter. The NEPA, the electricity company just come to them and give them estimated billing. So while the primary data was gotten from direct field observations through use of survey equipment, the global positioning system, and also the satellite imagery, the secondary data was obtained from the NEPA, from the electricity company's office. They have offices. They're the ones that will tell you what kind of load this transformer is carrying. You cannot decipher that by merely looking at the transformer, even the phases. So we also got that information from them. So the coordinates which were downloaded, we were able to arrange them in a cell. Also, the area photograph covering the area was added so as to get a better resolution of features within the place. On the slide 5, which is the next slide after the ones we currently have now, you will see a table at the base of it where we have the different attributes. Okay, for electric poles, we can store the pole ID. Every pole must be represented by a unique ID. That is the unique information about every pole. We also have the northern and the eastern, that is the coordinates, talking about the X and Y, talking about the position of the poles. We also have the status. Status means good or bad. Is it in good condition? Is it in bad condition? Then we have the material which the pole was made out of. Is it a wooden pole or a concrete pole? We also have the transformer. Also, we have the ID. We have the coordinates. We have the capacity in kV. And we also have the rationed, whether it is being shared by so many people or it is serving normally. The people don't have to alternate power. Okay, we also have the service line, talking about the cables. Okay, we look at the line ID. We also have the roads, because these things don't exist in isolation. We look at the road network of the place, the name of the road, as well as the width of the road. Then there is a river bounding our feature, so we also accommodated that. Then the buildings. There are buildings which we are also bound, the buildings that are serviced. We look at the building ID, we look at the usage, look at the number, the meter type, and then the phase. These are some of the information that we are contained in the database, which we use to carry out, which we generated at the end of this study. The next slide talks and looked at the map, even though it's not very clear there because of the amount of information content. I'm on slide 6 now. It's not very clear because of the amount of information content there. But in all those places, we have the buildings. These are the individual buildings. If we're able to zoom in very well, we also see the transformers. We also see the service lines, how they service information to the different buildings. Now, if we go to the next slide, on page 7, we see the several analyses that can be carried out on this database that we have created. How GIS can help to manage. We see that we can carry out queries. For instance, we can ask if transformer ID 5 is having an issue. For instance, we can easily query which buildings are being serviced by transformer ID 5. That will link us up to know the buildings that are having blackouts because transformer ID 5 is out of power. That is exactly what we are talking about. It will be easy to deploy resources to places that really require the resources. So on the single query here, the example we gave here was select all buildings which are using prepaid meter. For instance, currently the federal government is talking of metering everywhere, making sure that everywhere is properly metered. Now, how do government know which buildings are metered and which ones are not? How do government know how do we begin to bring the analog system to begin to check which buildings are metered and which ones are not? That is the essence of what we have now. Now, with this with a single query, you can query the database and all the buildings which are currently not metered will show up. That will help for easy distribution. We also have the multiple criterion query where you can apply 2 or 3 criteria in order to get an information. Okay. For instance, we have a query 1 that which says to select all buildings on phase 2 of transformer 5. Transformer 5, phase 2 of transformer 5. How do we select all the buildings that are captured in that place? And similarly, also other things we can do with this database is the buffering analysis. We know that the more power travels from place to place, the more the energy drops. At a certain distance, there will be no much energy again to supply to the people there. So it's good to have the transformer to a certain distance to all the buildings. Okay, here we did a buffer analysis on slide 7, saying select all buildings within 300 meters from the transformer. We want to know buildings which are very, very far from the transformer. From this buffering alone, it will be very obvious to see that the areas requiring transformer and the areas which are not. For instance, if you are looking at the map of the buffer, you see that areas to the central part of the left part, there are places there which are very far from the transformer. So whenever there is a new budget for new transformers, this will help us to know how we can locate it. So we believe that this GIS can be used for Earth-based infrastructural management, such as the ones being used by electricity distribution companies. It will help them to better manage their resources. Okay. Then some of the benefits we stated there, we said that it will help the distribution companies in knowing their asset location and the conditions. It also help them to update inventory. Okay. When the electricity commission needs to be consented to a different party, or there needs to be a change of management, you know, from the system, from the database, the new management can easily access and know all the properties that are currently available to them, because there is constant update. Whenever a new transformer is added into the system, the XY of that transformer is added to the database and information is added. That means at all times, the distribution company can say, this is the amount of transformers that we have on ground. This is the amount that is functional, and this is the amount that we need to, the ones that we need to repair. So we believe that this will help to use these facilities in a sustainable manner. It will help to use these facilities in a way that it will be more effective to give out information and also to give service, render service to their customers. Okay, so this we conclude by saying that GIS has shown to be very effective in the management of facilities, especially facilities that are Earth-based. And in our recommendation, we say that the distribution companies needs to involve GIS analysts in their activities to help them to manage infrastructures better. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Osimwaka.